This is going to be a rich lecture, so I'm going to divide it like in 3 quarters, and a later quarter for the second one that will be nice points like what Dr. Gamal Sami had illustrated in the previous one. I have no disclosures. The first question for us, when are we going to go to the pre-pandemic life? When are we going to take off the masks, and when are we going to have the normal gatherings again? I don't think, probably not now. How many years, how many months? At least the CDC had not mentioned anything yet. Why? 3 studies, very interesting studies, to show the respiratory viral infections among the oncology patients. This was done in China. The rate of the diagnosis of infection before the COVID season, and you can see the almost no viral infections during this COVID season. How about influenza? This you can see also, this was done in China, in different areas actually, different northern and southern parts of different cities, and you can see almost no diagnosis was made for the flu during the last year, and here again in the like the northern and southern parts of those states, almost no flu. It's not only limited to China, and you can see here in Singapore, the green line represented the mean of the previous 4 years, and the red one showing the sharp decline in the diagnosis of flu. So it means that what we're doing, most likely we're going to modify our life in so many different ways. After COVID, things will change. Nothing will be the same. Dr. Fauci always said, in order to end this pandemic, you need to vaccinate. They used to say before the vaccine era, we need to either get infection or vaccinate around 70 to 85 of the world population. Vaccinate. Why do I say vaccinate? How many we need to vaccinate? The world population is 7 billion. We need to vaccinate around 6 billion individuals. That means how many doses? If it is 2 doses, that means you need at least 10 billion doses. Are we going to cover this or not? You're going to tell me, okay, half of, like, everybody knows in the community that we got infection. But is it protective? Unfortunately, no. The infection will not give you long-lasting immunity for so many reasons that I will explain shortly. Within a matter of 5 to 6 months, you can get reinfected again. And even if you get a minor infection, if you get a severe infection, nothing can tell me that this is a long-lasting immunity. So it means that, unfortunately, we have to talk about vaccines. And you're going to ask me then, for how long the vaccinated person will keep the immunity? We don't have, nobody can answer this. The longest study that has been published is detection of 3 months after the vaccination. And you can see here the level of the antibodies depending in different age groups. Younger individuals from 18 years to above 71. And you can see those are 34 individuals who showing the receptor binding domain antibodies, whether ELISA or even the neutralization assay. That means the functioning antibodies. They are still in a very good level up to 119 days. That's 3 months after the vaccination, because the vaccination had started end of December. So this was after that. It's still, they are expecting what vaccinologists, I hope I'm a vaccinologist. After I started working on this, I was really fascinated by the vaccines. And hopefully next year I can work on something different. They expect the current vaccines immunity to last between 2 to 3 years, provided that the virus had not changed itself remarkably. And even if we need a booster dose, we might need a booster dose. And also, they are thinking, one of the companies, Novavax, is thinking of adding this COVID vaccine to the flu vaccine. And hopefully every year will be that. It's too early to come up with conclusions. So if I say that we need around 6 billion doses, do you think that will be covered by one vaccine? No, definitely you're not going to get the same vaccine that I had, or somebody next door, a neighbor will not get the same vaccine, and you can see a long list. When this had started, there were a lot of vaccines, 100, but who is going to win the race? Fortunately enough, A few of them had proven effective, and those are mainly the AstraZeneca, the Pfizer, and the Moderna, followed by the fourth in line, JJ, or we call it Johnson & Johnson, with Janssen Pharmaceutical. 4 of them had won the race, and they are starting to upscale their production to an enormous amount. You will never believe. And then they started using other cities. They cannot give you the patent. The patent means the license to do the vaccine. But all of them had promised during the pandemic area to keep the profit to the cost. But after that, definitely, we cannot survive without drug companies. So it's a win-win situation. You make money and I cure disease. But it should be within reasonable limits. Russia came up with a very nice vaccine, and they promised to give 500 million doses outside Russia. Russia's population is above 1 billion. India is above 1 billion. China is above 1 billion. When I started looking at the numbers, I couldn't read it. 9 zeros and then other 2 numbers or 1 number. So I don't know how to pronounce this. It's billions and plus. Billions and plus. So what is the status as of yesterday? I've been checking Bloomberg website, the Infectious Disease Society of North America, and the London School of Tropical Health. Those are the wonderful websites that I'm giving you at the end to track the vaccine tracker, and this is changing every day. This is the biggest vaccination campaign in history. How many got vaccinated? 689 million doses were given. Doses, I'm not saying 2 doses, because some of them are needed. In 155 countries, 16.3 million doses are given a day. The rate of the global population vaccinated up till now, around 5%. That means we need 4.5 years to vaccinate the world. Provided that we have the current vaccines, but other vaccines will come soon. One of them will be the Novavax, will be soon coming by the end of April, because they're going to start applying for the license. This is the word for the vaccination, and you can see, unfortunately, the Western Hemisphere as well as Europe are the darkest. That means the best vaccinated areas, and the rest of the shades of the color. And unfortunately, Black Africa is still in black. Some of them are getting better. But this is prevented, and this is protected by the COVAX. What is the COVAX? COVAX is the COVID-19 Global Access Facility. It's led by the UNICEF. They promised, or actually they funded, 2 billion doses to be available to at least the sharing countries. Egypt is one of them, to provide 20% of the population to be vaccinated, unless the country will prepay, will pre-reserve the doses. This organization is an umbrella for 3 major organizations: the WHO, the Gavi, and the CPEI. What is the Gavi? The Global Alliance for Vaccine and Immunization. And this has a good share with India, the Bharat Institute of India. India and Israel started also their institute. India is leading now in vaccine production. If you say that Indian vaccine, no, it's not an Indian vaccine. They have the license to produce it. And the India Bharat Institute was established in the year 2000 with the help of Bill Gates. And actually Bill and Melinda Gates, they provided for free. This is the research and money, around $200 million to the India Bharat Institute. The CPEI, which is the preparedness, it's also the one that's taking care of the MERS, of the Ebola, of all the vaccines. And those 3 organizations, they protect the non-wealthy countries, because unfortunately the Western countries they're going to vaccinate their population first, and they're going to leave the rest. And this is not fair, and it's actually to some extent covered. The UNICEF also had the agreement with the Bharat Institute for 2 vaccines, the AstraZeneca and the Novavax, that, as I said, will be soon. You're going to hear about it. I love this vaccine very much. This is I'm going to tell you which vaccine is that. 1.1 billion doses for 100 low middle income countries. And Pfizer, actually, you're going to hear this by the end of this year, you're going to have some Pfizer, provided that we have enough temperature requirements. I tried to check Egypt every day. Fortunately enough, I found those numbers. I'm not quite sure, but it reflects a little bit of what's going on. We had 350,000 doses from Sinopharm, from China, 50,000 initially from AstraZeneca, from India, made in the Bharat Institute that I told you about. Then 300,000 came from Sinopharm. Then 100 million doses. Actually, I was so proud to see this in Bloomberg site. Egypt was only among 18 countries that they reserved the doses. And I think the Ministry of Health is doing a great job. They reserved around 40 million doses from COVAX, and the rest they paid, or they put a down payment for that. As of April 1st, we had close to 1 million doses from AstraZeneca. So what are you having now is the AstraZeneca. So I will focus most of my talk on AstraZeneca. Are you bored? Is it boring? Or following? Is it right? The rest, what's coming, but you have to understand what's going on and see where are we now from the world and where is Egypt. And we are doing a relatively good job compared to us, developing country or middle income country. This is the status. If you look at, those are vaccination curve, and this is the detection of the virus in the States. And you can see definitely it has an impact. I will share with you, this is from Bloomberg, and I chose countries to compare. The first one is Egypt. Egypt as of April 5th. What they did, we had 49,000 vaccinated, 0.1% of our population. This is what has been reported. What about the US? US, as I said, the red bottom part is where I checked that. 157 million doses given, around quarter of the US population were vaccinated. Then UK is doing better job, 27%. It depends on the number because, for example, the state's population is 300 million, 28. Compared to, of course, when you see Emirates is doing a great job, had vaccinated 40% of their population. They gave 8.6 million. And Emirates is going to take the license of producing the Sinopharm from China. And you're going to get this soon. What about Israel? Actually, Israel is doing the best, vaccinated 55% of the population, 9 million doses. If you say that, if you doubt the vaccine, I wouldn't doubt it if Israelis had taken it. Definitely, they have taken good vaccines and they published wonderful data, and everything has pros and cons. There are shades of the white and black. So we have to make up our minds and then see where are we and what are we going to do. You're going to ask me, where is China? The cause for this, when they blame that. China had given 143 million doses. They vaccinated only 5% of their population. Russia had given 12 million, 4%. India had given 3.1. So Egypt, I'm so proud of it because you can see it on the map. We are really, and I think we are doing, the government is doing a great job regarding this issue. You're going to ask me, how many of us had taken the first dose and got infected? How many had taken the dose and they claim that the vaccine was not working, or they got the virus from the vaccine? Israel, when they started vaccinating people, it's not a randomized controlled study. It was published end of February in the New England Journal of Medicine. What they did, they took in the beginning 500,000 not vaccinated and took 500,000 vaccinated, first dose and second dose, and then they started seeing how many got infected to see the protective efficacy of the vaccine in real life. So how many days after, they started checking 2 weeks to 3 weeks after the first dose, 7 days after the second dose from Pfizer vaccine, and each group had close to 600,000 individuals. They actually had the statistics done in the States, mainly with the Maryland. So it was a combined effort. You can see 50% after the first dose had decreased infection and decreased the symptomatic infection. That rose to the 90% after the second dose. But still preventing hospitalization in the first dose, 70%. 8 is hospitalization after the second dose, 62 preventing severe disease, 92 will prevent severe disease after completion of the 2 doses vaccine. Death was prevented in 72% after the first dose. Marvelous data. You are not expecting 100%. Actually, the 95th percent or 95% with those messenger RNA, they had decline. Actually, they went down after the real life studies to 90%. Then will get the infection, but they're not going to get it as severe as the others. It's going to prevent some extent. This is the virus. How many amino acids need to be changed in order to get a variant? You know how many amino acids, base pairs, you know, the RNA, the 2 base pairs. Guess how many? We have 30,000 base pairs for the different S antigen, nuclear antigen, capsular antigen. If you have a lot of changes, then a new virus will be there. And what vaccinologists say, after a year in the pandemic, we did not have remarkable change. Still, the PCR can detect the variants. Still, the vaccine, as I will show you, is very effective. It means that it's not acting like the flu, and they are expecting the changes in the types within 2 to 3 years. So we are happy that this virus is not really acting bad. How many amino acids in the spike protein? Because the spike is the one that is important for entering the cell, and the RBD. We have 1,270 base pairs. And you can see the UK variant, how many had changed, and you can see on the right side the South African variant, how many had changed. The 3 most important, and actually 2 more were discovered, but only up till now, since the discovery a few months ago, 3 major ones. The UK ones, everyone is aware of it, and this one had 50% higher infectious rate. They have 23 mutations, some in the S protein. The South African one, they have 9 mutations in the S protein. And the P1, which is the Brazil and Japan one, 17 mutations, 3 in the S protein. 2 more were discovered in New York and California, but they are not still highly contagious to the rest of the states. They actually in the western part of the states. The CDC said the classification of those variants: a variant of interest, a variant of concern, a variant of high consequences, meaning you're not going to detect it, vaccine is not going to work. Fortunately enough, those variants are still in the blue zone. That's why we need to contain the virus. We need to vaccinate. By the way, I'm not saying take the vaccine, because I will tell you the warning signs. It is you who have to make the decision. But you have to know as a physician what to tell your patients. It goes into your heart, your gut feelings. It's very hard decision in the beginning. By the way, 50% of my patients do not want to take the vaccine, but I will tell you what's going on right now for the pregnant and for the children. What's going on now that tells you how safe the vaccines are. What is the efficacy of those variants on the vaccination? The orange lines represent the wild virus, and the green one represent the serum from people who got Pfizer vaccine. And you can see the decreased efficacy to 7-fold. What's the heck? 7-fold, still effective. Look at AstraZeneca, a 9-fold decrease. The wild virus compared to the new variant. This is the wild, meaning the efficacy. And this was the South African variant, which is the B531. The 117 is the UK variant. The 1351 is the other variant. So the vaccine is still very efficacious. Going to the vaccines. Simply, vaccines can be prepared in so many ways. Those are the very simplified because there are polysaccharide vaccines and other stuff. But to summarize, you can use the whole virus. You can use it whether you attenuate it, you kill it, you do whatever you like with the whole virus. Or you can use part of the pathogen of the virus. Or you can use the genetic code. Very simple. Where are we now? The three vaccines, the DNA, RNA, viral vaccines, are newer, novel kind of vaccines. Never tried before except the Ebola vaccine that was given during the Ebola season in Africa with a limited scale of introduction. Those are newer vaccines. Very efficacious. What are the old vaccines? Protein vaccine, killed attenuated vaccines. The protein vaccine, we all took the hepatitis B vaccine. Excuse me. So we all had subunit vaccine, the acellular pertussis vaccine. We all had given our kids Salk vaccine nowadays. We give them the neonates. We give them those vaccines. It means that are we afraid from them? Like the measles vaccine. And we have a lot of complications from measles and demyelination. We used to teach it. Well, nowadays, we teach other side effects, Kawasaki and etc., as I will show you. So vaccines have side effects. I'm not saying that they don't have. But what is the risk-benefit ratio? Those are the different types of the vaccines. I'm not going to talk about all of them. I will, because of the time. Oh my God, I have only 5 minutes left. Then, as I said, the second lecture, if you're interested, I can continue the second one. Part 1, part 2, okay? Or am I speaking fast? Following? So, right. This talk will be limited to the inactivated vaccine as well as the virus vector. When I did this in the States to the students, we had mostly on the messenger RNA, and hopefully maybe before the end of the year, when we start having the messenger RNA vaccines, I will tell you the very interesting studies about them, very good studies. Really, I'm not biased to the West, but I'll tell you what has been honestly published was the Western data. Chinese data was not published that much except phase 1 and phase 2. Russian data was not published except phase 1 and phase 2. And then everything came from their websites and from the news feed after that. It's really good after that. So this talk will be talking about the inactivated vaccines, the Chinese and the Indian vaccine. Chinese, 2 of them, Sinopharm, Sinovac. Indian is that inactivated is Covaxin. They reserved the Covaxin. Actually, they did it in Bharat Institute themselves. They have the patent for it. That means they did it on their own. And they vaccinated their military personnel. The same thing with China reserved another vaccine for their troops. What is the viral vector vaccines? The Chinese, CanSino, they haven't given us CanSino. They kept it for themselves. The Indian Covishield, they gave us the Covishield, which is the other version of the AstraZeneca. It is AstraZeneca, but it is synthesized in India. I don't know whether you use Vaxera or not. Check where are you getting the vaccines from. Is it from China or is it from India? Probably you will see some of them not coming from Europe. Most of other vaccines are synthesized in other parts of the world. Russian Sputnik. Do you know what Sputnik? Do you remember the satellite, the first satellite that went into the moon? It was Sputnik, the Russian that they sent it early in the 60s. That was the first Russian satellite. And they had the name and they added the V next to it. That means it's a kind of advancement. Sputnik vaccine. And actually, we have Sputnik here, but I know this from the military hospitals. They had it and they gave it to, not to the general population, but they had enough. As I told you, Russia said that they are going to vaccinate, give us 500 million doses. And it depends on deals, like communications. So the more you have communications, the faster you're going to get it. Oxford AstraZeneca, and then Johnson & Johnson Janssen Pharmaceutical. And by the way, this is the Anglo-Saxon, the Swedish, British company. It's not owned by only, for example, Johnson & Johnson. They have 60 shareholders from all over the world. So whenever you are a shareholder, that means you have the right to reserve some of the vaccines to this country. It's a global issue. It's one word, one village, and a lot of politics in that. What is the comparative data for the available vaccines? In short, I will tell you, AstraZeneca, the trial size was 60,000 individuals. 60,000. This is a huge number. Sinopharm, the Chinese told us they had it on 50,000, and Egypt was part of it, Emirates was part of it, Turkey, Brazil, Peru, South America, and they are kept in a normal temperature, and they said that their efficacy around the 70%. I don't care about 72, 75, 71, and the 70%. In the 2000, AstraZeneca promised to give the world more than 3 billion doses. Sinopharm and hundreds and thousands given even, and they started vaccinating people before getting the license from China, before getting the EMA, which is the European Medical Agency, and the FDA is, of course, the Western. They haven't applied for that. They have not applied because there is a lot of rigorous stuff. For example, glucosamine and move-free, that everybody uses it. They don't want to apply to the FDA. FDA is very strict, and it's a very regulated one, and they keep asking and asking, and it's a really very, very, as I said, strict rules. I'm not going to talk about the rest, but you can see that even Sinovac had a 50% efficacy. Russia said that their vaccine is 90% effective. Johnson & Johnson said the truth, 60%, one dose, 60%, but 60% is good. It's going to prevent side effects. I'm not saying this is a big one, but I'm telling you, what is the cost of AstraZeneca vaccine? They said it can cost down to $3. 50 guinea, 50 pounds. The Sinopharm and Sinovac, $62. Why? You deal with a lot of viruses, and you deal with chimpanzees to grow the virus, and the people should be very protected because they deal with a lot of viral load. So they have to be very, very careful, and that's why it's not. I think I will stop at here and continue the next lecture.